Alright, so welcome to the second part of our series on the MyPlasm CNC system. The last one talked about user interface. Today we're going to get a little bit more into the bread and butter of working with this software. So let's go ahead and get started. One of the first things that you're going to do when you do install the MyPlasm CNC system on your computer is go onto the customer portal and download the MyPlasm configuration file. This is going to be a zip file that is downloadable off the portal, and you'll be installing it into your MyPlasm system. Now we're using version 1.0.7a, and as these videos go on, we might see other updates in this software as they create new iterations. So keep that in mind. We'll be sending out updates to this video as time goes on. First piece here, so we're going to download that file off of the internet there. If you need some support with that, we can walk you through that as well. But once we've downloaded that support file onto our computer, we just go to Settings, go to Program, and then click Load Config. And you'll just select this, click on the zip file that we're using, and then open that up, and it will set all of our defaults for this software. So all of your motor tuning, everything involved with motor direction, cut direction, all of these critical portions here, as well as the tool sets, will be added to your list. And as we add more tool sets and as we make updates, you'll just be reloading the config file, and that will have all of those updates for you. So note that you're not going to have to individually adjust any of these. The only part that you may want to adjust when you're working with this system is going to be under under parking locations, F1, F2, F3, F4. These are hotkey commands that you can use on your system once you've zeroed it out to have the torch go to a given location or a known location for a cut. So if you had a fixture or a specific location on the table that you want to use as the cut start point every time that you get started, make sure that you set that point using F1, F2, F3. You can actually set those with a numerical value, so 13 inches off this way, 11 inches off that way, multiple options in that setup. But however you set up your system, this is where you're going to change your parking for your hotkeys here. And you can also have a special one here for finishing. So when it finishes a cut, you can have it go to a specific location, and you can input that value here. So let's say you wanted it to go to the far back location and go 2 inches or 4 inches off the material. You would input those values there, and then once it's done with a cut, it'll go to that 48 by 48 by 4 inches up at the very end of your cut. So keep that in mind. And let's see if there's anything else here I want to touch here. Okay. Here is our axis soft limits. This is also something that's going to change with your table. You can set that up based on your table size. So that's going to change based off of each table size. Your x-axis, if it's a 4x4, will be 48, or you can run it the full length of the 50 inches of travel that you have. The 5x10, which is going to be that 60 by 120. Whatever your table size happens to be, you'll actually input those values into your axis soft limits. This will prevent your system from being able to, let's say, overextend what the rack has as available movement. So it'll keep it from running off the rack, as opposed to some of the older systems that used to run off the rack, and it's a safety feature there. But once you have that set here, so once we've installed our config file, and if you've set up any parking that you want, you can set that there. And if you set up your axis soft limits, making sure they're checked off, you should be good to go ahead and start trying to move your machine. All of this will be set up for you. However, based off of the different producers of stepper motors, some stepper motors may have a different direction. So what we want to do is make sure that we are in fact getting the proper direction out of our motors. One way to do this is we can always reverse the direction of the motor. If the z-axis is going backwards, we can click on the reverse, and that will reverse the z-axis. Similarly with the y-axis, if it's running opposite, so if you hit the up key on your keyboard, it should move away from you. If it's not moving away from you, your y-axis may be backwards. So make sure that that is selected, or that reverse is selected, if your y-axis is running backwards. Similarly, your x-axis, your left and right, if it's going right when you press left on your keyboard, there's definitely a little bit of a problem there, and we want to avoid that. And by reversing the direction, we can do that. So keep that all set up for you here. So you'll install the config, you'll do those, and we will be good to run. And as long as you are no longer in offline or simulation mode, you should be able to run full cuts on your system. That isn't to say that you can't use the system in offline or simulation mode. This is a great way to get familiar with the software without having to be at the computer. You can see and run and test out individual portions of a specific cut file without having to plug it into the table, so you can see what it's going to do. It will simulate your material surface and simulate the touch-off or the ohmic sensing so that you can run through the entire program and just watch the order in which it's going to cut. And that is how you get your configuration set up on this system. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here so that we can move on to another video talking about how to load a file in on this table.